Today we start a new era in Argentina. Today we're finishing a long and sad story of decadence, and we're starting the road of reconstructing our country. With Argentinians, in a solid way, has expressed a will of change that doesn't have a turn back. There's no point back. We now bury a lot of decades of frustration and useless fights. Fights that have only achieved to destroy us and leave us in ruins. Today starts a new era in Argentina, a new era of peace and prosperity, an era of development, of liberty and progress. 200 years ago, a group of Argentinian citizens together in Tucumán told the world that the United Provinces of Rio de la Plata were not longer an Spain colony, and from that moment on we will be a sovereign and own nation. For decades we have been fighting to see which is the best way to manage our country. In 1863, after 40 years of declaring independence, under the work of a lot of idealist young persons, we decided as a country to embrace the ideas of freedom. He's talking about the first constitution, by the way. That's how we made a liberal constitution with the objective of securing freedom for all of us and everyone to come to Argentina. What happened after we made that constitution, that liberal constitution, was the biggest economic expansion of our history. We passed from being a country of barbaric people, we went to be one of the first potencies in the world. At the start of the 20th century, we were the beacon of the West. Our country received a lot of immigrants from a devastated Europe looking for a greater future. Regretfully, our dirigents decided to leave out those ideas of liberty and freedom and start embracing the ideas of collectivism and socialism. Over 100 years, politicians have been eager to protect a model that only creates poverty and underdevelopment. A model that thinks that we citizens are here to serve to politicians and not the other way. Politicians here to serve the public citizen. A model that believes that the work of a politician is to rule the world and the life of a public citizen in every way possible. A model that thinks that the state is a loot that you can take advantage of. That model has been a failure everywhere in the world, and especially has been a failure in our country. Just like the end of the Berlin Wall made a breaking point in the world history, this election has made a breaking point in our history. People are screaming, freedom, freedom. In these days, we have talked a lot about the inheritance we're going to get. Let me be very clear. There hasn't been a government that has inherited worse inheritance as we do. Kirchnerism, that at their beginning they were proud of having superávit. Now they're leaving us a deficit for 17% of PIB.
A su vez, de esos 17 puntos del PBI, 15 corresponden al déficit
From those 17 points, 15 are for deficit from the Treasury and the Central Bank.
Por lo tanto, no existe
So
solución viable
there is
en
no
la que se
viable
evite
solution
atacar al
that
déficit
allow us
fiscal.
to attack fiscal deficit.
Al mismo tiempo,
At the
de
same
esos 15
time,
puntos de
5
déficit
points
fiscal,
of that deficit
5
correspond
corresponden
to
al
the
Tesoro
National
Nacional
Treasury and 10 to
y
the
10 al Banco
Central
Central.
Bank. So the solution
Por lo
implies
que la solución implica,
to have
por un
a
lado,
drastic
un ajuste
cut
fiscal
of
en el sector público
expenditures
nacional de 5 puntos del
of
PBI,
5 points of
y que a
PIB,
diferencia del pasado,
and it will be
caerá
only
casi
over
totalmente
the
sobre el Estado
expenditures
y
of
no
the
sobre el
state.
sector privado. Por el otro, es necesario limpiar
The other way,
los pasivos
we need to
remunerados del
clean
Banco
all the
Central,
passive of
los
the
cuales
Central
son
Bank,
responsables de los 10
which are
puntos
responsible
de
of
déficit del
10
mismo.
points of the 10
De
points of
esta
deficit
manera,
that the banks
se
generated.
pondría fin a la emisión de
In this
dinero
way, we can put an
y
end
con
to
ello
the emission of
a la
money,
única causa
and
de
with
la
that,
inflación empíricamente
the
cierta
only
y
cause of
válida en
inflation,
términos teóricos.
the printing of money, the issuance of money.
Sin embargo, dado que la política monetaria
So, given that the
un rezago
monetary policy works with a delay of 18 to 24 months, even if we today stop printing any more money, we will keep paying the cost of the disaster that the last government have made. To have printed over 20 points of our PIB. That was not free. We have to pay it with inflation.
A su vez, el cepo cambiario, otra herencia de este
At the same
gobierno,
time, the cepo, which is the restrictions in buying dollars here in Argentina,
a su vez, el
at the
cepo
same time, the
cambiario,
cepo,
otra herencia de
another
este gobierno,
inheritance
no
from this
solo
government,
constituye una pesadilla social
it's
y
not just a
productiva,
nightmare, for social
porque implica
nightmare
altas
and
tasas de
productive
interés,
nightmare,
bajo nivel de actividad, escaso nivel de empleo formal,
because it destroys all
salarios
the
reales
economic
miserables que impulsan el aumento de pobres y
principles,
indigentes, sino que además el sobrante de dinero en la economía hoy es el doble que había en la previa del Rodrigazo. Para tener una idea de lo que eso implica, recordemos que el
Okay, he's
Rodrigazo
talking about our
multiplicó por 6 veces
latest
la tasa de
economical crisis
inflación,
here in Argentina. It will
por
be
lo que un
difficult to
evento
translate because he's
similar
making reference to that.
significaría
So
multiplicar
he's
la
saying
tasa
that
de
we are
inflación por
worse
12 veces.
than when we
Y
were
dado que la misma
in
viene
77.
viajando a un ritmo del 300%, podríamos pasar a una tasa anual del
So
3.600.
he's saying that we are in a bad
A su
pathway,
vez,
that we are.
tranquilos que no termina acá, la herencia sigue.
He's just saying that he has a lot of things to say about what he's been
Dada la
inheriting.
situación de los pasivos remunerados del Banco Central, la cual es peor que la que había en la previa de
Okay, he's also comparing now the passives of the central bank with another of the hyperinflations in the past, the one of 89.
Llevar a la inflación a niveles del 15.000%.
So he's saying we're in danger of having an inflation of 50,000%. That's a hyperinflation.
Del 15.000% anual, la cual vamos a luchar contra uñas y dientes.
And he's saying that he will fight with all he got to stop that inflation that is coming.
Es más, Este número,
In fact, this number that sounds so incredible implies an inflation of 52% by month. And right now, we have an inflation between 20 and 40% per month for December and January. This means that the outing government have led us a superinflation, and it's our duty to make all our efforts to stop this, because this will make our country have over 90% of poverty and over 50% of homeless people. In conclusion, there's no other way out than adjusting. In the other side, this is not all the inheritance I'm getting. Okay, he's talking about tariffs, about electricity bills and those kinds of things, because those are suppressed via subsidies. He's talking about the debt importers, because to import in Argentina you have to ask the government for the dollars, and we as a government owe $30,000 million. He's adding all our debts.
Y la deuda del Tesoro pendiente suma unos $35.000 millones adicionales.
And he's saying that everything together adds up to $100,000 million of debt.
Cerca de $420.000 millones de deuda ya existente.
And we have to also add to that debt our debt with the IMF and other organisms.
Los vencimientos de deudas en pesos son equivalentes a $90.000 millones y $25.000 millones en moneda extranjera con organismos multilaterales de crédito. Sin embargo,
okay, he's saying that the adding of all this debt is just crazy.
Por los brutales incumplimientos del gobierno saliente, el rollover de deuda es por demás desafiante aún para el mítico cíclope.
And we have to add to that the economy hasn't been growing since 2013, and the employment in the formal sector is the same since from 10 years ago.
El sector privado se mantiene estancado en 6 millones de puestos de trabajo, llegando a la locura que el mismo es superado en un 33% por el empleo informal. Por ello, no debería sorprender a nadie.
So that's the reason why real salaries have gone so down, because right now our salary is around $300, and that's 6 times less than in the 90s.
A los de la convertibilidad, sino que de haberse mantenido la tendencia de aquellos años.
And he said that if we kept our average of the 90s, the regular Argentinian will be earning right now like $3,000. And that's how they ruined us.
Nos han hecho caer por 10 veces nuestros salarios. Por lo tanto,
that's why we shouldn't be surprised if populism is leaving us 45% of poverty and over 10% of homeless people. After telling you all of this situation that looks unremontable, we must be clear that there is no other way out than adjusting cuts.
Tampoco hay lugar a la discusión entre shock y gradualismo. En primer lugar, porque desde el punto de vista empírico,
and we have to do it fast, because in an empiric point of view, all the slow programs have been disastrous and all the shock programs have been successful. And from a theoretical point of view, if a country lacks education like we do, companies will not invest until they see that we don't have a fiscal deficit. And more importantly, to make a gradual change or a slow change, we need financement. And I have to tell you again, there is no money. So he's saying that his changes cannot be gradual or slow. he have to move fast and make a shock policy to stop this bump, because he already said that we are on our way to a 15,000% inflation per year. People are now chanting, "There's no money." So the conclusion is that there's no way out besides the adjust and the shock. Naturally, this will affect negatively in the people, the economy, and the industries. There will be a stagflation. That's true, but it's not so different from what we have been living the last 12 years. Let's remember that the last 12 years, the GDP per capita have fallen 15% in a context where we have accumulated 5,000% of inflation. So we have been living for over a decade in stagflation. So this is just the last hard part before we can start making Argentina great. At the same time, after readjusting all these macroeconomic things we're going to do, which will be less harmful as soon as we have less points in our risk, and we're going to keep helping people with our Ministry of Human Capital. This means that there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. In the other road, the proposal from socialists will just take us to hyperinflation and the worst crisis in our history, which will make us be the same as the Venezuela from Chavez and Maduro. That's why after explaining you this disastrous situation, the only way out is the shock policies. A shock policy that is ordered and that falls its weight onto the state and not onto the people. We know it's going to be hard. That's why I want to bring you an outstanding phrase from one of our best presidents in Argentina, who was Julio Argentino Roca. Nothing big, nothing stable and lasting. It's getting in the world when it's about the freedom of the people, if not in exchange of sacrifices. But our sacrifices don't end at the economical. Okay, the state of disaster in our community is worse in every part. In security, the felons in Argentina are working freely while good people is being locked out in their houses. Narcotraffic is also on its rise. In one of our main cities have been taken over by the drug cartels. Our police forces have been abandoned by the political class. We are in such a desperate state that only 3% of felonies are convicted. We have to make a stop to this thing for felons. We're receiving a social state with half of people that are poor. More than half of Argentinians can live with dignity because they are imprisoned in a system that only generates more poverty. As someone says, plans against poverty usually ends in more poverty. The only way to get out of poverty is with freedom. At the same time, 6 million of kids will go to sleep with hunger, will walk without shoes, and others have fallen into drugs. The same has happened in educational matters. Only 16% of our kids end the school in time. Only 16%. Only 16 of every 100 kids finish schools on time. That means the rest of the kids won't end school on time. Also, 70% of kids that end schools can't comprehend a text or solve a basic maths problem. In the last PISA test, we are 7th in South America, being that Argentina was the first country to end with analphabetism in the world. If Sarmiento comes back from dead and see what you guys did to our education. For the ones that don't know, Sarmiento was a teacher that was also a president. In health matter, system is collapsed. Hospitals are destroyed. Doctors don't earn as much, and the regular Argentinians doesn't have access to public health. It's such the state that if we have done the things as other countries did, we would only have 30,000 dead people in the pandemics. And because this state is so inefficient, we had over 100,000 dead people in the pandemic. This is the current state of things from which politics talks all the time and use as an argument to keep spending and spending, just benefiting themselves. Wherever you look, the situation in Argentina is critical. If we look at infrastructure in our country, the state of the things is the same. Only 16% of roads are in a good shape. That's why it's not a random fact that a lot of Argentinians dies in the roads every year. What I want to make clear is that the situation in Argentina is critical and we are in an emergency. We don't have alternatives and we don't have time. We don't have time for sterile discussions. Our country demands action and reaction immediately. Political class is leaving a country in one of their worst situations ever. Every one of them has to be responsible of what they are living. I'm not going to name or condemn them. Things are going to be hard in the next weeks, but it's the only way out. That's the only option they left us. We're going to take every decision we need to fix all the problems they left after 100 years of spending from the political class, even if it's hard at the beginning. We know that in a short term, situation is going to be worse, but then we're going to see the fruits of our labor, having created the basis of a solid and enduring growth in time. We also know that everything is not lost. We have a lot of problems, but we have the capability to to solve them. It's not going to be easy. 100 years of failure is not going to be resolved from day to night. But someday it has to begin. And that day is today. People are chanting, yes, we can right now.
Hoy empezamos a desandar el camino de la decadencia y comenzamos a transitar el camino de la prosperidad.
We have everything to be the country we always dreamed. We have the resources, we have the people,
tenemos los recursos,
we have
tenemos la gente,
creativity,
tenemos la creatividad,
and
y
more
mucho
importantly, we have the resilience
tenemos la resiliencia para salir adelante.
to be victorious. Today we are embracing
Hoy volvemos a
the
abrazar
ideas
las
of
ideas
freedom,
de la libertad.
the ideas that reflects
en la
on
definición
the
del liberalismo,
definition
de
of
nuestro
liberalism,
máximo prócer de las
libertarianism.
ideas de la libertad, el profesor
We said
Alberto Venegas dijo que
libertarianism
dice,
is the unrestricted respect for the break of life of the other based on the principle of no aggression,
basado en el principio
in
de
the
no
defense
agresión,
of the
en
right to
defensa
life,
del derecho a la
to
vida,
property,
a la libertad y a la propiedad, cuyas
which
instituciones
main
fundamentales
features
son
are the
la
private
propiedad
property,
privada,
free markets
los
without
mercados
state
libres de
intervention,
intervención estatal,
free
la
competition,
libre competencia,
labor division,
la división del
and
trabajo
social
y
cooperation.
la cooperación social.
In that
en esa
phrase
frase de
is
57
resumed
palabras está
the essence
resumida la esencia
of the new
del
social
nuevo
contract that the
contrato
Argentinians
social
have
que
elected.
eligieron los argentinos.
This new social agreement proposes a different country, a country where the state doesn't rule our lives, but only take care of our rights. A country where if someone does something, he will pay for it. A country where if you cut the street violating the right of the others, won't give you, society won't give you assistance. We are saying the one that cuts the street will not be getting their salary. A country that inside of law allows everything, but outside of law we don't allow anything. A country that helps the ones that need it, but don't let the people that use the ones in need to extort the state just to benefit themselves. About political class, I'm going to say that we are not pursuing anything. We are not going to be revengeful. Our project is not a power project. It's a country project. We don't ask for your blind commitment, but we're not going to tolerate that hypocrisy or power ambition interferes with the change that Argentinians have chosen. To all those political dirigents that wants to get into this new Argentina, we receive you with our arms open. We welcome you with our arms open.
Así, no importa de dónde venga.
So it doesn't matter what you did before. The only thing that matters is where do you want to go. The ones that want to use violence to obstruct change, we are going to say that you have a president with strong convictions that will use anything in his power to advance in the changes that our country needs. We are not going to go back. We are not going to give up. We are going to do everything the country needs because we are sure that if we embrace the ideas of freedom, is the only way we can go out of this hole that they have left us. So to end this, let me be clear. Today starts a new era in Argentina. The challenge we have in front of us is titanic, but the true strength of the people is tested in how they resolve conflicts when they are faced with them.
Y cada vez que creemos que nuestra capacidad para superar esos desafíos ha sido alcanzada, miramos al cielo y recordamos que esa capacidad bien podría ser ilimitada.
The challenge is huge, but we will face it with conviction. We will work tirelessly, and we will get to our goal.
No es casualidad que esta inauguración presidencial
it's not by chance that this event is happening during Hanukkah, the light fest.
De la libertad. La guerra de los macabeos es el símbolo del triunfo de los débiles por sobre los poderosos, de los pocos por sobre los muchos, de la luz por sobre la oscuridad y sobre todas las cosas, de la verdad por sobre la mentira. Porque ustedes saben que
because you know that I prefer to give you an uncomfortable truth than a comfortable lie.
Estoy convencido de que vamos a salir adelante. Recuerdo cuando
I'm convinced we're going to get through this. I remember 2 years ago when next to Victoria Villarruel, the now Vice President,
hoy vicepresidente de la Nación, ingresamos a esta casa como diputados. Recuerdo que en una entrevista me habían dicho,
I remember that in an interview they told us, you're only two amongst 157, you won't be able to do anything. And I also remember that that day our answer was,
la respuesta fue
aside
una cita del
from a
libro
Bible
de
passage that says
3:19,
that the victory in battle won't depend on the amount of soldiers, but on the amount of forces that comes from heaven.
Por lo tanto,
so God bless Argentinians and that the forces of heaven are with us in this challenge. Thanks to you. It's going to be hard, but we're going to make it. ¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
¡Viva la libertad, carajo! ¡Viva la libertad, carajo! ¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
Let's stand up that we're going to get out of this.
De pie que vamos a salir.
Por el artículo 75 de la ley 26.522, hasta aquí han transmitido LRA1, Radio Nacional Buenos Aires, República Argentina, y LIC 82 TV Canal 7, la televisión pública, junto a todas las emisoras que integran la cadena nacional de radio y televisión de todo el país, y el servicio internacional RAE, Radiodifusión Argentina al exterior, con motivo de haberse celebrado el acto de asunción presidencial. A partir de este momento, las emisoras participantes continúan con la transmisión